What separates video games from any other medium is that you get to be the main character and the director at the same time. Most of the time you're in charge of what you do and where the camera is looking, but every so often games wrest all that control away from you in what is known as a cutscene, sometimes for an enormous protracted period of time. Grab a cushion to stave off the bed sores, prepare for the top 7 longest cutscenes in gaming history, and beware spoilers for the following games.
Okay, let's eat.
Released on PSP back in 2007 in Japan and in 2008 in the rest of the world, Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII delivered the epic prequel that in a very real sense made quite long train journeys a bit less tedious. The best thing about Crisis Core, aside from its ability to make our commutes go more quickly, is that its ending leads straight into the memorable opening scene of the original Final Fantasy VII. And it all kicks off after final boss Genesis is defeated, or as the game weirdly puts it,
conflict resolved.
Conflict resolved. Way to make the final climactic battle sound like some kind of HR mediation. Once you've, resolved the conflict, you're treated to an incredible 23 solid minutes of cutscene exposition, which builds a seamless narrative bridge between the end of Crisis Core and the start of Final Fantasy VII. The big takeaway here is that this guy, Zack Fair, is basically the most important person in the entire Final Fantasy VII universe. And there's you thinking it was Aeris. The gist of Crisis Core's plot is that without Zack, who made only relatively brief appearances in the original Final Fantasy VII, none of the events in the PlayStation 1's best RPG would have happened.
I really hope that this final letter that I'm writing gets to you.
And never is Zack's pivotal role more obvious than in this final cutscene. Here's a quick rundown of good guy stuff Zack gets up to in this non-stop epilogue. Carries Cloud towards Midgar.
You're gonna make it too. You got that?
Protects Cloud by hiding his unconscious body while a legion of Shinra troops arrives, who he heroically fights off, eventually sacrificing his life to ensure Cloud's safety. And with his dying breath, he gives Cloud his iconic Buster Sword. Look, I know this is a sad scene, but can we just take a moment to appreciate how well Cloud's hair is holding up in that rain? Gotta find out what product he uses.
Here you are. After all this time, I finally found the real you. And now, we are going to be apart again. The time we'll spend apart will be an instant, in the flow of universal time.
You could argue that Xenosaga is in fact not a JRPG with cutscenes, but a cutscene with bits of JRPG, given that across the 3 Xenosaga episodes there are over 500 separate cinematics. And trying to make sense of those cinematics is to gaze into the unblinking eye of madness, even if you played this trilogy of games taking detailed notes and referencing a fan wiki the entire time. In fact, especially then.
That's right. I was the one behind the disappearance of the planet Ariadne. All that mattered was the recovery of the emulator.
Regardless, we move. Of Xenosaga's hundreds of cutscenes, the longest is this 25-minute chunk of gloriously fuzzy 2006 splendor from the end of the 3rd game.
That's unusually vague, coming from you, Cosmos.
This butt-numbingly long cinematic begins with series heroine Shion and android Cosmos thanking each other for being so cool.
Thank you. No. Thank you for everything.
Then Shion heads off on a mission to, in an apparent requirement mandated by overly long cutscene legislation, save the universe by finding Lost Jerusalem, which is what they call planet Earth, which was abandoned millennia earlier. Imagine losing a whole planet. Careless, I call that. Cosmos and Shion's brother Jin are left behind to battle the Gnosis in spectacular mid-noughties CG fashion, and thus the grand denouement doesn't arrive for another 21 whole minutes, after Jin gets an extended death scene and after Cosmos detonates herself in an act of explosive self-sacrifice.
I'm leaving the rest to you now. Shion.
This is the point when, and bear with me here, a dimensional shift warps time and space, destroying the universe-spanning, faster-than-light travel-enabling UMN network in the process. Having barely escaped the warp, Shion's ship then appears to be marooned forever in deepest space, which would make for a pretty punishing downer ending to cap your epic finale. Except cue the reappearance of series regular Miyuki aboard the colony-sized Damarung ship, here to save the day and burn through a few more moments of DVD disc space.
Shion! Thank goodness! I'm so glad you're alive!
Honestly, that girl.
Maintain your patience throughout all of that, and your reward is, guess what? Another ending cutscene! This one contains the credits, however, and is only 12 minutes long, which at this point feels like a sneeze.
I know that somehow I'll reach Lost Jerusalem.
You may have lost a planet, but I've lost my mind trying to understand Xenosaga.
Alright. I guess we're here. You still with me, though?
The ending of Death Stranding has a lot of work to do, and so it can't leave it all for the final cutscene, which is a mere 31 minutes long. After all, in the preceding hours, Sam Porterbridge's family tree has been growing ever more complicated, and you've been asked to digest more convoluted government plans than an MI6 agent. As the final act begins, we look to director Hideo Kojima for a neat and satisfying conclusion. Which, more fool us, because this is a game made by director Hideo Kojima.
Sam, you made it.
Instead, in this final act, there are only more twists in this game that was already twistier than a tornado in a pretzel factory. We learn that the plan to summon another extinction event was Amelie's idea, that she doesn't exist in the physical world, and that now the Death Stranding has ended, Die Hardman becomes the new president of the UCA and promises to break down all walls between people. Great news in principle, terrible if you're in the construction business. And in a way, Sam kind of is? Anyway, it's specifically the 31-minute post-credits cutscene that makes this list, however. As if your list of "what is Kojima on about" questions to Google later wasn't already as long as your arm, this final half hour features Sam dying and coming back to life, Bridge Baby Lou dying and coming back to life, and your capacity to digest plot twists, dying, and failing to come back to life. So far. Don't worry, there's still time before Death Stranding 2 comes along.
You could excuse Kingdom Hearts 3 for taking a bit of time to wrap its plot up. After all, it's not actually the third game in the series, but the 9th.
9th?
Yeah, don't worry, I'll explain it to you later.
Please don't!
But it's not the wrapping up 17 years worth of games that makes this final cutscene a whopping 32 plus minutes long. It's actually the unbearably leisurely pace. For example, as Xehanort trots out his 3 millionth speech about darkness, he does it complete with the franchise's trademark overly long dramatic pauses between lines.
The world needs someone to stand up and lead. Someone strong. To stop the weak from polluting the world with their endless darkness. Someone to dictate their destiny.
Even when all the other heroes arrive to actually move the plot along, they do the JRPG classic of communicating to each other only in a long, slow series of grunts and pauses, like they all suddenly forgot the actual script. Ugh. Oh god, they got me doing it now. Things get a little spicier when Keyblade Master Ericus from the PSP-only side game you almost certainly didn't play turns up in spirit form and flashback Xehanort into a childhood chess game.
I told you that you might be surprised.
But even here, every response is slower than the average walking speed of a London tourist.
When the world needs a defender, they'll pick you, Ericus. Huh?
Still, you can breathe a sigh of relief when Sora finally closes the door to the realm of Kingdom Hearts and ends the game.
It's finally over.
Oh?
No.
Oh my god, can we get this thing moving along, please? Time is of the essence. After a thankfully pause-free but still over 10-minute montage of everyone going off to their happy endings to the tear-jerking Kingdom Hearts soundtrack, the credits give a genuinely heartfelt nod to all the Disney worlds you visited. But by the time we finally, actually reach the epilogue, the long pauses sadly return, and it's possible that some characters aren't quite giving this the pacey energy this game deserves.
Did you summon us back?
Yep.
Xigbar reveals that he's not only had multiple forms and identities over the years, but through it all he's had one singular mission, one vitally important, plot-smashing cinematic role in the vast narrative arc that was supposedly concluded a few minutes ago.
What role?
What role? Ugh, these bloody pauses! Bearing in mind we're already in the post-credits epilogue of one of the longest cutscenes in gaming history, it becomes clear at this point that Xigbar and Square Enix itself is basically trolling us at this point.
I've heard enough! Luciu, what was your role?
I hope you like long stories.
Well, if Square Enix is editing the VO, I'm gonna have to.
Ironic words there from Yakuza 0's Keiji Shibusawa, considering they are the start of an epic 42-minute long epilogue cutscene, which reveals that there are in fact quite a lot more things. Yes, Yakuza fans, I hope you went to the Popo convenience store and bought yourself some snacks, because we now have to sit back and watch how every single character's story resolves itself. This includes Majima agonizing over killing his enemies, political wrangling over a plot of land, Majima and hated enemy Sagawa reconciling,
まあお前とは妙な体験しちまったがこれからは同業として陰ながら応援すんぜ
as well as Kiryu rejoining the Dojima family. We even get the origin story of his iconic suit.
俺が決めたこれで始めたいんだ
It's that he bought it at a shop. Not to mention Majima heroically saving Makoto, the blind woman who he's been protecting gallantly throughout the game and who now has her sight back, from being menaced by some thugs before walking away forever out of her life. And her discovering a sentimental keepsake he buried in the ground. and of course the first time Majima ever annoyed Kiryu in the street.
Yo. Kiryu-chan!
Momentous. As if that weren't enough, we also get text panels telling us what the cast got up to next, like this is an 80s high school movie, which, lengthwise, it practically was. But hey, now you're finally free to free roam and can go back to karaoke. We all know that's why you're really here.
Don't be ridiculous. Going to the ass end of the solar system isn't a part of my job description. Leave the mindless fighting to you-know-who. Our fabulous and famous battle-tested hero. Hey, this isn't even cooked. Hmm?
Here in second place for the chonkiest cutscene in gaming history is 2009 spacefaring RPG Star Ocean: The Last Hope. In a world without the next game on this list, Star Ocean: The Last Hope would hold the record for the world's longest cutscene, with its gargantuan 46-minute cutscene just before the final boss fight. As things stand, The Last Hope has to make peace with merely holding the record for most purple explosions in space while people with superb hairstyles watch on. Probably. As you watch what looks suspiciously like a transparent PNG of some spaceships to the tune of what sounds suspiciously like Star Trek, you're left to reflect that the improbably named Edge Maverick and his crew were initially on a mission to find hospitable new planets. Somehow, over a number of hours that only a Square Enix RPG could justify, that mission now looks like this. To be fair, it's not Edge's fault. On his travels, he discovers an entity called the Missing Procedure, which, if left unchecked, will consume their entire dimension, and an energy source called Nox Obscurus, which basically powers the whole dimension-eating catastrophe. Getting involved was a good call then, but neither Edge Maverick, seriously, best name ever, nor the player could have foreseen that locating and destroying the Missing Procedure would entail 46 minutes of near-constant cutscene explosions. The biggest and best of them all comes when Crow, who everyone thought was dead several cutscenes ago, returns to sacrifice himself and destroy the Nox Obscurus security measures, aka a giant space dragon, allowing Edge's fleet entry into the mothership. From there, it's a simple matter of acing a grueling boss fight against the Apostle of Creation, then sitting back for another 40 minutes of final, no kidding this time, ending cutscene.
I won't let those last moments we spent together go to waste.
In other news, I've now used all my annual leave and will be working every day until 2027.
Colonel.
If you asked Hideo Kojima for the time, he'd start off by telling you about a secret CIA time travel experiment from the 60s, touch on every timekeeping method from biblical times till now, and then get his phone out and show you a picture of him and Norman Reedus. The man is not succinct. Nowhere is that more evident than in Metal Gear Solid 4's feature-length post-credits sequence, which includes a whopping 71-minute cutscene preceded by a boss fight.
Look, the war is over.
The war might be over, but there's still a frankly staggering amount of old man slap fights still to come. This post-credits fight goes on for so long that by the end of it, both Solid Snake and Liquid Ocelot's names have changed. Also, Ocelot gives Snake a tender mid-fight smooch, because why not? It passes the time. But at least that fight was interactive. Buckle up now for an entirely non-interactive hour-plus of Hideo Kojima playing at being a movie director.
What did we lose? What did we save?
Half an hour deep into MGS4's punishingly protracted denouement, you begin to get the sense that maybe some of this could have been left on the cutting room floor. Exhibit A wedding scene in which a monkey is not only in attendance, but catches the bouquet. Too bad, Ocelot. Now you gotta marry this monkey. And then as the cutscene rumbles on just before your TV starts asking to turn itself off, this legendarily lengthy outro uppercuts you in the fields with a touching exchange between Big Boss and his son, Solid Snake. The old man enjoys a last cigar, and you're left to reflect on what might be the most complicated self-sacrifice in gaming history. Is that it, Kojima? I need at least another 25 minutes of monkey wedding.
So those were the longest cutscenes in gaming history. Have you sat through any of them? Did you understand what there's sort of a theme going in this, and that there's a lot of things and I don't fully understand what is happening in any of them, but maybe you do. Did you like them? Do you like cutscenes, or do you prefer running around in a circle while someone talks to you? That's the new cutscene, Kojima. You gotta let us run in a circle. Let Norman Reedus run in a circle. But if you enjoyed that video, don't forget we have loads more videos. There's here on Outside Extra, little video you can check out here, and here's one from Outside Xbox, our lovely sister channel. And if you want to support us further, you can join our Patreon. Thank you so much to all you folks who already have. Shout out to the folks on the Discord, which you can join from that Patreon. But in the meantime, take care, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.